Your neighbor Jim figured out that with Metro PCS, he gets unlimited data, talk, and text for $30, period.
Babe, that color looks awesome.
Just like he figured out that shopping with his wife will buy him a night with his buddies. That's Guys Night Out, figured out. You too figure it out. Switch to Metro PCS on the fast 4G LTE T-Mobile network for only $30, period. Metro PCS. Wireless. Figured out. Coverage not available in some areas. Plan includes first 1 gigabyte of data at up to 4G LTE speeds. See store or metropcs.com for details and terms and conditions and data management info.
Blog Talk Radio. Writing your book is the easy part. Promoting your book so readers can find and purchase it is the hard part. Welcome to the Author Chat Show, hosted by author-publisher Lynda D.Brown. Follow us at www.facebook.com/authorchat. And to contact the show to promote your book, contact me at theauthorchatshow@gmail.com. Stay tuned and listen to today's show.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Author Chat Show. I'm your host, Lynda D. Brown. My guest today is returning for, I believe this is maybe her third appearance on the Author Chat Show, because if I'm not mistaken, I think we've actually had her on to talk about all three of her books. My author is Susan M. Obijiski, okay? And I had to, as I told her earlier, I had to jot it down phonetically in order to say it so that I could hopefully say it correctly. Susan M. Obijiski, and that's actually spelled O-B-I, J as in John, I, S as in Sam, K as in Kevin, I as in India. And we're here to discuss her latest book, Dreams of the Exile. And this is the final novel in her Dream series. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we've had Susan on to talk about all three books. So just stay tuned. We're going to chat with her about book 3 after a word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right, welcome back to the show. Again, for those of you just tuning in, my guest today is author Susan M. Obijiski. Susan is returning to the show. I think this is her third appearance to discuss her book, Dreams of the Exile. Susan, welcome back to the show.
Hi, Lynda. How are you?
I am wonderful, sweetie. How are you doing?
I'm well. Thank you for having me back again.
Oh, I was looking. I think this is I think we've actually had an opportunity to promote all three of your books in your Dream series, if I'm not mistaken. Isn't that correct?
You are absolutely correct about that.
All right. Yeah, because I know we did the last book, which was Dreams of the Many, I believe, on our Google Hangout show.
Yeah, Dreams of the Many was the first one, and then we did Dreams of the Few on the Google Hangout show.
That was a Google Hangout. Okay. Now, I'm going to tell you, I love the Google Hangouts. The reason why I stopped doing it that way was because so many authors weren't paying attention to the directions on how to use it, and they were basically screwing up my broadcast. But I'm seriously considering, I know, right? Because it was such a great thing, especially now since YouTube is actually live streaming the event over their website. So I'm seriously thinking about going back to that platform, but I'm going to have to give it some serious thought because, like I said, people are not good with directions, and let's just say it's something I'm going to have to pray for.
We had a good time on the last one, on the Dreams of the Few one. That was fun.
It was fun. You did a book giveaway, and we just had a lot of fun on that. So, like I said, I'm thinking about maybe this fall switching back to that format because trying to do this, we're broadcasting 4 times a week, and trying to do the videos for all that. If I did the Google Hangouts, the videos would be done for me instantly.
Oh, yeah.
So, anyway. So, Susan, again, welcome back to the show. Now, for those that missed the first two times that you were on, absolutely, why don't we get started with you telling us a little bit about yourself before we start talking about the book series?
Sure. I've been writing. I'm not a youngster by any means, and I've been writing since I've been about 12 years old. I started out doing essays and poetry, short stories, that kind of thing. And was born and raised in Michigan, lived most of my life in New York State, and I'm now living in beautiful Sedona, Arizona. So I'm a self-published author, and we will talk a little bit about how and why I decided to do this series. But, you know, I've written all my life, basically, so it's a passion of mine.
I know, exactly. So many of the authors that I interview on the show have said the same thing, myself included. I've been writing since I learned how to write. And to actually create a story from really just a thought from your mind is just fascinating. So
it is.
Absolutely.
And to watch it, it unfold,
It's
kind of a strange feeling to let your babies fly out into the world and know that you're done with them, that you're not going to be able to edit or change anything, that it's now something that belongs to everybody else, and they do with it and interpret it how they will.
Exactly. I agree with that 100%. I actually work with authors, and something else that I'm going to stop doing because it's just too time-consuming. And it's not allowing. It is. But you know, you said something that makes a lot of sense, and that is when you do it yourself, you have to know that, you know, it's intriguing to see you take something that's actually a thought, you put pen to paper, and then you actually put that out there, and then you put it out there, you put your book out there. It is just like showing off your new baby. There are some people who are they're very excited about writing a book, and then once the book is done, then they start getting cold feet about putting the book out there. And trust me, we've all been there. Am I right, Susan?
Yes,
it's
we have been.
Scary.
And, you know, whether you go through the self-publishing process or you're fortunate enough to have a literary agent and publish through one of the big publishing houses, at some point you lose, I wouldn't say the word control, but I think, you know, you're not the only one that's influencing it anymore, whether you have an editor or not. And so it can happen at that point, or it can happen when you are finished with all of it as a self-published author and you release it to the world, whether it's your friends and family that are reading it or people that are buying it on Barnes & Noble or Amazon. You know, everybody's going to have an opinion, and everybody's going to take something different away from the work. And you have to be okay with that and move on to the next project.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, before we start talking a little bit about the book series, you mentioned something because I'd say about 90% of my listening audience are basically authors. So let's talk about why you decided to self-publish as opposed to try to find a literary agent to work with a traditional publisher.
Okay. Well, you know, Lynda, you and probably a lot of the people that are listening, if they're authors, know that the publishing market is no longer what it was 30 years ago, you know, 40 years ago, whatever time period you're coming from. It used to be you would print out a manuscript, you would mail it in, and you would send it to everybody on a list, and you would hope for the best. And that's really not something that you can do anymore. Unsolicited manuscripts are really almost impossible to get a publisher to look at. And if you're looking to get a literary agent, which is one of the few ways that you can get a publisher to look at your book, lit agents are also tough to get. You can go through what I went through, which is to have a number of people who were interested, and then they have to take it to their team. And if everybody doesn't agree that this is the right author, it kind of slips through your fingers. So at a certain point, if you have a lot of things that you want to do, and there isn't anybody that's going to promote it on your behalf or work with the publishers, there is a much more vibrant self-publishing community now in the last decade or two than there was before. So that's the good part about it. And if you do your research right and you find the right publisher, you've got dependable print on demand, you've got books that are going to show up on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, just like everything that's coming out of Simon & Schuster or anywhere else. So the reason that I decided to do it is that I had been down the path a number of times with literary agents and just sort of watched the negotiations die off. And I had my first book pretty much ready to go. So I just said, okay, I'll do it myself then.
Exactly. I call it, we have totally defeated the gatekeepers because unfortunately with the old way that they were doing things, only certain books, only certain people were being published according to their thoughts. You know what I'm saying? What they thought would sell, what they thought people wanted to read. Excuse me, really? So this has been a dream come true to actually be able to put those thoughts to paper and then turn it into a book. And you have did a fabulous job with your dream series. Tell us what inspired you to write your dream series, and we can actually start from book one all the way up to your current book, Susan.
Okay, so the first book, as I mentioned when we were talking about my bio, I did spend a number of years living in New York, and I have a background in theater. And the first book was inspired in part by a friend of mine who had spent his life in the theater as an actor. So the protagonist, one of the main characters in all three books, is an actor, and it was a promise that I made to him to write a story about the life that he had lived. He was a child. As a child, he was abused. He became an alcoholic like his father was, and the whole concept of taking various characters who were inspired by real people in my life and presenting them, and some of them are combined, the characters are combined. You present them in a way that allows people to see that they have their challenges, they have their demons in their lives, but they're able to overcome those things in order to be what they're meant to be. So part of the reasoning for writing the first book, which was not originally intended to be a three-part series, but became that because there was enough story to tell. It was, a promise to this friend. And then also there is a character who starts out in the first book as a young boy who's been diagnosed as autistic, and the inspiration for him was based upon the fact that I was seeing a lot more friends and family grappling with this increasing issue of autism and trying to put together a storyline that would allow people to see that, every child is different and has their own qualities, characteristics, strengths, weaknesses, and we have to stop looking at them as being disabled because in some cases they are phenomenally gifted. So those were kind of the two major inspirations for the first book, and then when the first book ended, people started asking me, what happens to the story?
Right.
What happens to these people? And I'm reminded of a story that Stephen King told about people asking him for years after he wrote The Shining, what happened to the little boy Danny in the book? What happened to him when he grew up? And it was the same kind of thing. And I realized that there was more story to tell. There were more things that happened to these people, and it seemed logical. Once the second book was done, then the third book was, just, okay, we really need to kind of bring this to a logical conclusion.
Exactly. And tell us about Brody and his family, because they're basically the main characters in the book. Is that correct?
They are, yeah. And in the first book, he meets a number of other people, and, they become fast friends. But at the beginning of the first book, none of them know each other. So the basic concept is that Brody is invited into this young autistic boy's dream as a way to get him back into the real world. And then book 2 picks up when the child, Casey, is a bit older, and book 3 finishes out that kind of logical story. Brody, as one of the main characters, is a pretty well-renowned stage and theater actor who has also done a bit of film and television, but mostly he's a theater actor, and he's had a really tough life, and he's not the best at relationships and has struggled with his demons. He does meet his future wife during the dream, this virtual reality that the little boy creates, and they go on to have a child, and they become really good friends with a lot of the other people that are invited into the dream. So those characters persist throughout all 3 books, and they, in turn, their lives evolve, and they face their own challenges.
Wonderful, wonderful. You have a great little tagline on your author bio that I just absolutely love. So if you don't mind, I'd like to share this with the listening audience. And this is what she has on her author bio. By telling a story, I hope to inspire others to pursue their dreams, to persevere in the face of challenges, and most of all, to remember that the world is a great place to live. That is so incredibly beautiful. And so true.
Well,
you just have to really find out where you are. You know what I mean? People are really upset and just they just don't know who they are and what their purpose is. And that's why I think you find so many people that are so unhappy, because they just don't have a clue, Susan. Right. Yeah. So it's great to know that we found our little niche, so to speak, in the universe. And it's a pretty nice place to be.
Well, now, I think that when you ask people who's their favorite author, what is their favorite story, whether it's a movie or a book or whatever, most of the time it's something that resonates with them because they put themselves in that person's shoes. They feel their pain or their joy because they've been there, or they want so desperately to do what some of these characters do. So it's a way for us as authors to inspire people to say, well, okay, this might be a fictional character, but hey, look what they're accomplishing it. Maybe I can do these things too.
Exactly. Now, let me ask you this, and then we're going to have you do an excerpt from your book. One of the things that you mentioned was when you finished book 1, which was actually supposed to be a standalone novel, and I think all of us that are listening that are authors can truly relate to this. Okay, and then people started asking you about the character and what's happening, what's going on. They really became connected to your book. At that point, is that what made you feel like, you know what, I'm really an author?
Well, yeah. I mean, I think, we've all had that sort of aha moment where your head is buried so deeply in your manuscript and you're just at that point hopefully writing because you're passionate about the story, not writing with the idea that you're going to become famous or, you're envisioning a bunch of people buying it, because you get so off track when you try to do that. You need to really focus on the work and then publish it and wait. And I think there's a point where somebody says something to you, like, for example, when my first book came out, a dear, dear friend of my mother's, believe it or not, approached me and said, Mom, your mom told me that you wrote this book, and I bought the book, and she said to me, yeah, the imagery is just so wonderful in here that I can close my eyes after I've read this passage and I can see it. I really think this should be made into a movie.
Absolutely.
And I don't necessarily agree with that, but when somebody says something like that to you that lets you know that they really saw it, that they got it, that they felt it, that's when you say, oh, my God, I'm an author.
I know, right? That is so true. Oh my God, I've actually done it. As a matter of fact, Susan, I actually had an opportunity to get together a couple weeks ago with an old coworker somebody I used to work with, and the first thing out of her mouth was, what are you going to do with my Invisible Enemy series? I ended it after book 3, but then I still have people going, but there's still so much.
Right.
And I told her, and it's like, are you serious? So yeah, we're just saying this to kind of give you guys that are writing books. Maybe this is your first book. That there is hope, but it's a process. So you have to be patient, take the time to get in there, learn your craft. Now that is always my biggest issue with the people that I tend to help them with their first book. You got to get in here and learn the craft. Even before I started putting pen to paper or started typing up my manuscript, I did my homework about self-publishing. You know, what is it that I need to do? And then I was blessed to actually work with my first book was actually published by a hybrid publisher, sort of like what you use with, because you use Strategic Book, one of my favorite companies. And I was able to work hand in hand with the people assigned to my team to get my book done, and that's what helped me learn how to do this myself. So yeah, that's great. Well, listen, we're going to take a quick commercial break.
Okay.
Can you hold that thought for 1 second? We're going to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll let Susan make her statement, and then she's going to read an excerpt from her book. And again, the book that we're discussing today is Dreams of the Exile. It's the final novel in her dream series. So just do not go anywhere. We'll be right back after a word from today's sponsor.
PrimeStar Publicity and Public Relations is a full-service firm ready to fill the needs of their clients. Owner Helen Cook has more than 32 years of publicity, public relations, advertising, and marketing experience, and she focuses her professional talents on working with her clients' strengths to create customized, strategic campaigns, whether their needs are great or small. Radio, TV, print, internet, publicity, marketing, creating a social media presence, branding, client positioning, author tours, speaking events. These are just some of the services PrimeStar provides for their clients. For a complete list of services and other information about the company, please visit our website, www.primestarpublicity.com, or email Helen at helen.cook@primestarpublicity.com, or phone 903-654-0938. PrimeStar's home office is located in the Houston, Texas area.
All right, we're back with author Susan Obijiski. Now, did I pronounce that right, Susan? Obijiski?
It's Obijiski, just like it looks. All mostly eyes.
Okay, exactly. Obijiski. Okay, great. And we're discussing her new book, Dreams of the Exile. Susan is going to read an excerpt from her book. Susan, can you tell us? Oh, first you had a statement you were going to make, and then we'll do the reading. What was it? Can you remember what you were going to say?
I wanted to finish your thought, Lynda, on talking about, like encouraging people to keep doing their research. I think that, when I do some workshops where we talk about, how do you build a book and how do you create a character that people want and who's your target audience and all of that. Those are all things that, you can take a writing class at night in college or whatever, and you can find out those things if you really feel you need to. But the last piece of advice that I wanted to give to anybody who's listening is you have to write. You have to write. Because if you don't do that, you're not going to get better. You're not going to discover your style, and everybody is going to do it a little bit differently. So it's important not to give up. It's important to have the discipline to keep going when it's only you sitting there at the desk trying to keep yourself moving.
Yeah, that is so true, Susan. I hate to say it, even with me, with what I think I just released book number 9, it is still hard for me with everything that I do, because I still work a full-time 8-hour job, plus I do all this.
Yeah, me too.
Me too. I know, right? To try to find, but you have to, even if it's just an hour a day, you got to get in there and you got to write something just to keep your skills up. It's so important. I can't even begin to tell you just how important that is. So thank you for that, Susan. Okay, so where are you going to be reading from? And let us know, and we're ready whenever you are.
So Lynda asked me to pull the book out and give you guys a taste of it, and I kind of opened it just, randomly and pulled up a passage that talks a little bit about what Brody went through as a child and some of the nightmares that he experienced with his father, which shaped his demons and made him who he was. And in this scene, what's happening is Brody is in the dream again, and he is floating in a storm on the sea on this raft, and he's remembering this one terrible incident that happened with his father. And so I'll just start reading whenever you're ready, Lynda.
Oh, whenever you're ready. Go right ahead, sweetie.
Okay. Brody drifted through the night, struggling to stay awake and afloat, until in the cavernous pre-dawn of a timeless ocean, the dream cannoned into life. Torn shreds of clouds flew across the vaulted sky, and the wind bellowed as the waves wrenched and trashed. He clung to the remnants of the raft, his muscles whining in complaint, his sleep-deprived brain threatening to abandon the fight. The storm dug deep, planting its powerful roots in the depths of the sea as the waves rolled, peaked, and twisted in a dark, cacophonous dirge. The tempest grew into a raging horror as Brody fought to maintain his grip on the pitiful remains of his raft. Unbidden memories flooded his brain, and he struggled with the maddening irony of this demented metaphor. He could feel the blows falling on his shoulders. He could see the rage in his father's eyes as he delivered the final cruel assault and sent his son careening down the stairs of the apartment building. Sound of his own voice crying out as he ran from the nightmarish scene in his father's bedroom. The dream tilted, and as the storm raged on, Brody tumbled into the mad chaos of his childhood. "I want to help you, Pop." Brody looked directly at his father, meeting his gaze with as much courage as the child could muster. "Just tell me what to do." His voice wavered, but he hoped his father didn't notice. It wouldn't do to give him the upper hand. Dennis took his time answering. He closed his eyes, brushed the worn blanket with an open palm. He seemed to be considering something, but Brody couldn't guess what was coming. Dennis opened his eyes and looked at his son. "Do you want to do something?" he asked. Brody nodded earnestly. "Right, then," Dennis continued. "You can kill me." Brody struggled to interpret the words, but he couldn't make sense of what he heard. His father couldn't mean what he said. It was the booze talking. Brody was sure of that. "Do you hear me, boy?" Dennis smiled bitterly, revealing yellow teeth. "No," Brody said huskily. He said, "I can't do that, Pop." Dennis stared at his son. He bit his bottom lip, and a tiny droplet of blood pooled on the surface. "I'm dying," he announced. "No, Pop." Brody shook his head wildly. "Don't say that." Dennis looked at his son with quiet resignation. "I am," he said simply. "Then I'll take care of you," Brody whispered. "I can take care of you. We can get a doctor." "You can't save me," Dennis said. Brody swiped at his tears with the frayed cover of his sweatshirt. "But you can do this for your old man," Dennis said. But he hadn't done it. In the end, Brody hadn't helped his old man. Or maybe he had. There was no way to know. After several failed attempts to do his father's bidding, the child ran away, scampering out of the apartment like a beaten dog with his tail between his legs. He ran through a blinding snowstorm, his legs and arms pumping, his heart racing, his breath hitching in his chest. And that was the last time he saw his father alive.
Wow. Wow. Again, just as powerful as book 1 and 2, Susan. Congratulations. I think you've done it again. Absolutely. So you finished with this. Was this like sort of like feeling like giving up your baby for adoption after nurturing it and feeding it and taking care of it for the last couple of years, and now you've let it go? How does it feel to finish that series?
It was. It feels good that it's done. It's hard to say goodbye to characters that you have traced and followed through, 3 books. It's been a long journey that started in 2008. I'm already kind of on to the next thing, which is helping. But, yes, these characters I think will always be dear to my heart.
I know. I can truly relate to that. Now, tell our listening audience how they can connect with you online.
I have several Facebook pages. Each one has the title of the book, so you'll find one for Dreams of the Many, Dreams of the Few, Dreams of the Exile, and then there's one for Susan M. Obijiski. Those are all Facebook pages. I also have a Twitter account. I have a website. Lynda's got all of my contact information as well. And if you're looking for the book, it is for sale online on Barnes & Noble and Amazon, as well as on the Strategic Book Group website.
Absolutely. We will post all of Susan's links on our Facebook fan page, because she's so fabulous. She's got them all here. All I have to do is just copy and paste the information. We also released the trailer for her book, Dreams of the Exile. You'll be able to see that as well on the Author Chat Facebook fan page. Susan, thank you so much for coming on the show. We truly, truly appreciate you coming by and sharing your book and your experience, because, like I said, you've done a fantastic job with 3 books out. Are you currently working on anything new?
Yes, I am. Yeah, I have another book that I'm working on now, which is kind of a family saga. That sort of digs into, family issues and who knows what and who's got what secrets. And so I'm looking forward to that one. Maybe we'll do Google Hangout.
Oh, yeah. I'm seriously thinking about going back to the Hangouts.
Good.
Big time. So, Susan, trust me. And I'd like to thank you, because when I was doing the Google Hangouts, I think it was you that actually came up with a format for me to kind of do the questions. You know how you had a little chat room area, and I really just want to really explore that exactly, because, like I said, this is okay. Don't get me wrong. We've been doing the show on Blog Talk Radio now since 2011, and it's been a great platform for me. But I think it's time to evolve and go to the next level. And really, what my main goal is, I'd like to be like Huffington Post and actually show it where I'm talking to you. I can see you in my monitor, and then we can see all 3 of us, the both of us, on the screen. Which would be setting up a home office or a studio. So that's basically what I plan on doing, hopefully within the next year. But Susan, again, thank you so much. Oh yeah, this is a great. I love this show. I love doing the show and helping other authors promote their books.
Good.
Well, with that being said, again, thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing your book and your experience, like I mentioned earlier, with us. We hope the best for you. We wish you the very best. And please contact me when the other book comes out, so we'll get you back on here.
Oh, definitely. Will do.
Okay, sounds great. Listen, go out there and enjoy that. I know it's super hot there in Arizona. It's currently like 96 where I'm at. Yeah, so I can imagine how hot it is
here
in Arizona.
It's
I know.
The same here.
Yeah, but it's so beautiful there. I've been in Sedona, Arizona. It is absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, it is. We're very, very pleased that we're here.
Well, again, you listen. Get out here, enjoy the rest of the Sunday, and thank you so much for coming on the Author Chat Show.
Thanks for having me, Lynda.
Anytime. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay,
that was author Susan M. Obijiski, okay, and that's spelled Obijiski. And the title of her book, again, is Dreams of the Exile, the final novel in the Dream series. This book, like she mentioned, is currently available on Amazon. The Kindle book is $7.99. The paperback is $23.50. But I want to just let you know, since I've had the pleasure of actually interviewing her for all 3 of her books. So the titles of all 3 series are The Dreams of the Few, and then The Dreams of the Many, and then now The Dreams of the Exile. And you can find all 3 books on her website or on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, any place where books are sold. All right, that's our show for today. We'll catch you back here next week on the Author Chat Show. Hope you can get out here and enjoy the rest of this Sunday. Like I said, it's about 96 degrees here in St. Louis, Missouri, so I'll be staying right indoors enjoying my air conditioning until I get out later this evening. You guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Blessings. Bye-bye.
Geico presents sharing versus oversharing. Today, Bridget Griffin shared a video of her daily yoga routine, 2 self-help articles, and her new blog called Build Your Inner Bridge with Bridge. Girl, your sharing has turned into oversharing. No worries, Bridge. Geico has some info worth sharing with your 7 blog followers, like how you could save money on your car insurance, update your policy, and report a claim just by visiting geico.com. How's that for building your inner bridge? Bridge? Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.